It's running.
Ahoj, моє ім'я є Сергій Гальонкін, право послухати подкаст «Як делать гри». Припожився к нам, як обвикла Михайло Кузьмін, а Сергій Клімов. Днес оповідаємо з Якубом Дворским з Аманіти Дизайн, а прото мліваємо чеськи.
Про нас herny Vivojar, że jest Czeska Republika, na języku z kwilem piwem, wypraszowym kalenem, animakiem karteczek, kletaки родну землю хер яко, саморост, а махинаріум.
А мы тоже едем с годину херних и промысла. Инспирировали есть из пусто молодых людей жить независлой чистою. А мы до фами же тента подкаст поможет Вичи достаться к творбе хер.
Díky za přivítání, chlapci, do vašeho podcastu. A jsem rád, že budeme mluvit česky tentokrát.
Hi, Jakub.
Okay, so we are not gonna talk Czech, actually. We are going to talk a bit Russian and mostly
It's a
English.
pity. It would be so much easier for me.
Ребят, если вы не понимаете английский, мои соболезнования, вам только первая часть подкаста подойдет, все остальное будет на английском.
Да, а начнем мы, как обычно, с новостей про всякие всевозможные ивенты и что у нас там было главного из наших геймснайтов.
Опять геймснайт. Господи.
Последний раз, когда мы с вами разговаривали, было 2 геймснайта. Один был в Перми и параллельно, по-моему, в Самаре. И, извините, я не помню. В Перми пришло 130 или 150 человек, там были и Альтернатива, и Ксола, и много кто был. Вот, это первый раз такое состоялось, и на фотографии очень много народу пришло. Про разные темы говорили. 13 декабря состоится геймснайт в Краснодаре, человек 50-40, может быть, независимых разработчиков Хирокрафта и Инока. И они будут обсуждать юзабилити, геймдизайн и Android.
Вообще, большое спасибо геймснайтам, я хоть узнаю географию родной страны, потому что я дальше Ярославля, по-моему, в России нигде и никогда и не был.
Они у нас раньше были по одному в неделю, сейчас они уже по 2 в неделю. Мне кажется, что-то надо делать с этим.
Надо контролировать.
Про Hackaphone кто-нибудь расскажет про Касперского?
Миш, рассказывай.
Да, нас попросили заанонсировать. Касперский, да, человек и вирус. Хорошо, человек-боец с вирусами. Финансирует и делает сейчас, проводит хакатон. Извините, Hackaphone – это мероприятие, которое
Хакафон.
Да, Hackaphone, окей, был такой мультфильм у Диснея. 14-15 декабря, продолжительность 40 часов, и вам нужно будет сделать мобильную игру в тематике этого ивента. Заходите на hackaphone.ru, почитайте, что там будет происходить, правила, все такое, и полюбуйтесь на логотип нашего подкаста в информационных спонсорах.
Еще, кстати, про хакафон и хакатоны. Олег Чумаков, который был у нас в подкасте из компании Невал, вместе с группой друзей делает GamesJam. У них адрес gamesjam.ru, на который приглашаются команды и просто желающие сделать игру, не обязательно мобильную, за несколько дней. Там большая куча экспертов из разных компаний, включая Mail.ru, Невал и так далее, которые оценивают ваши игры. И это, по-моему, как и Hackaphone Касперского, это хороший способ для того, чтобы попробовать свои силы в игровой индустрии, попробовать сразу же найти команду и попытаться сделать что-то заслуживающее внимания.
Эта тема сейчас очень популярна, так что не пропустите.
Да, по этому поводу, кстати, даже Обама выступил. Вчера выложили видео с Обамой, где он в честь месяца кода американского призывает детей не только покупать видеоигры, но и делать свои видеоигры.
Чтобы потом пойти работать в НСА и следить за чатами World of Warcraft. В феврале в Питере состоится Games Night Spb. Машей Кочаковой организовано на тему сюжетов в играх. Там будут люди, которые делают сценарии в Skyforge, Allodoch Online, Aspect кто-то будет из Невала, кто-то будет Белоглазов, который сделал Сублюстром и Фобос, будут люди, которые сделали игру Левиафан, бла-бла-бла-бла-бла. Будет всего 50 человек, и идея в том, чтобы это был действительно круглый стол с записью и трансляцией, поэтому если вам есть что сказать, или если вы хотите принять участие в обсуждении сценариев, свяжитесь с Машей, и она вас оприходует и запишет в какой-нибудь слот.
Воу-воу-воу. Вообще,
В принципе,
кстати,
свяжитесь с
Маша, приходи к нам в подкаст. и расскажи что-нибудь интересное. Вот ты пишешь довольно интересные блоги, и мы тебя хотим здесь.
Я хотел бы посраться с Машей в прямом эфире на тему того, чтобы можно или нельзя делать игры про войну. Я знаю, что у нас не разные точки зрения на эту тему.
Вот-вот, так что давай,
Ты
не
еще со мной по
стесняйся,
этому поводу
приходи.
поругаешься, тогда я так понимаю.
Я за игры про войну, если что.
Ты за, тогда мы вместе будем ее бить.
Окей, женщина на корабле, у нас сразу же срачики. Все, привет.
Games Night Moscow пройдет в Москве в конце января на две большие темы будут. 3, на самом деле, это игровые платформы, сеттинги и запуск проектов, как вообще игру запускать. И мы позвали людей с 3 играми, которые в ближайшее время должны выйти. Первая игра называется Warsight, вторая называется Mollycats, третья называется Gremlins Incorporated. И мы будем на примере реальных проектов обсуждать, как же, запустить игру. А еще одним проектом, который будет в Москве в конце января, и на основе которого мы будем обсуждать возможности стратегии запуска, будет Brave Land от Санникова и Тартуга Тим. Вот. Это будет небольшое мероприятие, мы будем транслировать, записывать, и в основном это будет для обсуждения для круглых столов.
Для тех, кто не знает, Brave Land — это на самом деле Намибия. Это их официальный гимн. Намибия — храбрая страна.
Слушай, они сейчас услышат и переименуются.
Переименуются, да?
Потом где-то еще в начале следующего года к нам придут игровые юристы поговорить с нами. Там Катя Немова, Роман Занин. Где-то нам надо будет начать собирать заранее вопросы.
Что у нас еще на прошлой неделе было? У нас был DevGAMM. И, по-моему, единственным человеком, который был на DevGAMM, это был Якуб. Так что используем эту тему как плавный переход к нашему гостю. Якуб, how it was at DevGAMM in Kyiv? It was your first trip to Ukraine or...
Actually, it was my second trip to Ukraine, but for the first time I was there only in Zakarpattia many years ago, hiking. So it was my first time in Kiev and in any conference or festival. And it was good.
So you've probably seen how we celebrate the developers conference on Maidan. You probably seen the crowd.
Yeah, I saw. It was very nice.
All those people are game developers. Whole million of them.
Yeah, I realized it was. I unfortunately I missed the biggest celebration on Sunday. And even when they removed the famous game developer Lenin from the square. It's a pity, but I was there on Friday night and on Saturday and enjoyed a great warm atmosphere, and I'm glad I was there at these exciting times.
In our podcast, we have a great joke about strip club of Kyiv. So, have you visited any strip clubs in Kyiv?
It's actually a joke.
Unfortunately not. I would love to, but I didn't have enough time for it.
All strippers were on Maidan, so they were busy. Everybody was on Maidan. I was actually on DevGAMM as well, but I spent several hours just sitting in hotel lobby talking to people, so I never managed to go inside.
He's normally just sitting there trying to sell stuff and buy stuff.
Sure.
That's how I work.
Actually, I haven't seen any other lecture than mine, but I was talking with the visitors all the time, and it was great.
Good coverage. People were happy to hear you. I saw a lot of good things said about your inspirational presentation, and I think that people are just happy to see that the guy who makes great games is there. He's alive and he's human.
Because usually
human, but from Mars somewhere.
Well, I think it's a good idea to invite some real game developers, not only businessmen and managers, but also...
Yeah, but normally also you hear about games developers from California or from Canada. And you always have this excuse, if I lived in Los Angeles, of course I'll make great games. But here's a guy from Brno, and you cannot really say that Brno has a bigger games development community than Kyiv, and still you've made great games. So you're a good example that you can make great games even if you're not in New York or Los Angeles.
I think it doesn't really matter where are you. On the global market, it's easier to make games where the life is cheaper. So Czech Republic or Ukraine is better than US, where the life is more expensive and you're fighting for the same crowd of people and you are earning the same no matter where you are.
Yeah, it's actually same for internet companies as well, I think, because if you're working anyway online, you don't have to live somewhere expensive. You just could live somewhere where you like to live, right?
Well, we don't see that many independent studios from Minsk, do we? Even though it's not really expensive to live in Minsk.
I actually know several independent studios in Minsk, so I would disagree with you. And I'm not talking about wargaming.
Yeah, but they never produced.
Maybe it will explode the scene there, and in San Francisco it will die eventually, and it will thrive in
The next will be Astana from Kazakhstan, probably. Yeah, and then,
You know they're investing in the game development, actually.
Yeah, and I also like Teheran and the Iranian Industry Association. They're going to game shows for the last 3 or 4 years. I just don't see myself moving to, Teheran, where they glue the assholes of the suspected homosexuals and then they kill them in some horrible way. It's not my cup of tea.
About Tegran and game developers from Iran, I had a meeting with them 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, when I still was working at Softprom, and I had an associate with me. She was, bright blonde, big eyes and everything like this. And the guy that I was talking to, he never looked on my face. He never looked on me. He was always looking onto this girl. So let's talk about you, Jakub. So how did you get into gaming industry? How did you start?
Oh, well, I grew up on games, just playing simple games on my first computer, Atari. And soon I thought to myself, I just thought that I could maybe try to make my own game. So I started when I was 15, and when I was 18 I released my first couple of games, and so I was game developer.
So what your first games were? You developed for Atari, right?
No. I was just playing on Atari, and I was developing on PC already. My first game was a combination of genres between dungeon and adventure game. The game was at 3D graphics, but not live 3D. It was pre-rendered, and all the characters were drawn by mouse in Animator, in some simple animation software.
So it's kind of like Ultima Underworld, right?
No, it was more adventure game, but with some dungeon-like parts. Some medieval fantasy stuff.
So you don't do just usual games.
I'm trying to remember what have I done at 15, so probably I choose something in the corner of the class.
Girls, I guess.
No. It's going to nightclubs or something. I didn't do games at 15, so it's...
I did.
Yeah, when I was 15, I didn't go to nightclubs at all. I started at 18 when the first game was released, and it made some money, so I had some money, so I could finally start to go outside and drink and stuff. I spent a lot of time at home behind my computer and working.
You weren't alone when you started developing game, right? You said you had somebody help you.
I was working with my schoolmates on grammar school, 3 or 4 guys. We are working 3 years on the first game. Nothing's really changed very much since then. I still work in small team on bigger projects for many years.
With same guys?
No, but, one guy, the sound maker, is the same still. And he's our producer and business manager currently.
So your current studio is, we know that your current studio is pretty small, but you have 3 games in development. So how many people do you have?
Currently we have 16 people and 3 teams. So each team is like 5 or 6 people only, which is great because we can still work like a bunch of friends without any management or structure.
So you don't have any management, right? So you still have 16 people. You just divided them in 3 teams, and that's it, right?
Yeah, and those 3 teams are more or less independent. Every team has its own boss or lead designer, or I call it author. And that's the person who is responsible for the whole project, for its vision and concept and design. Okay,
so because a saying goes is if you go over 6 people, you have to hire a manager. So 7 is so your 7th person is manager, and that's why you have teams under 6, right?
Yes. I think it's manageable up to, let's say, 10 people, but no more probably. It would be too difficult.
Are there many game developers in Czech? Because I don't actually know a lot about this
Come on, Illusion Softworks, Bohemia Interactive.
Well, we have quite a few. I'm sure you know Arma.
Yeah, obviously.
DayZ, those are Czech. Probably 2K Czech, Mafia and Mafia 2.
Warhorse
Internet
Studios.
Dangerous.
Yeah, DayZ is the name of the dog of Sergei Klimov.
Yeah. So
It's actually not a joke. His name is Daisy.
Oh, she's half Czech, half New Zealand.
Yeah. And maybe also you know Madfinger Games, Dead Trigger.
I didn't know they are actually Czech.
Shadowgun. Yeah, they are. They are Brno, in fact, from Brno.
What about Daniel Vavra?
Daniel Vavra, he's here in Prague. He's working on his big project.
The killer of The Witcher, I think. CryEngine, the real RPG. Yeah. He's got some pretty good blog advice about building maps for RPGs and how he plans to design real medieval toilets in the cities.
He's quite popular here. I guess he's very talented game developer with some very radical opinions on everything.
Hi Daniel, we say hi to you in case you're listening.
Hi Dan.
It sounds from what you're saying is that Czech is actually have several big teams and several smaller teams. Like Madfinger is not a huge team, right?
Well, now they are quite big already. They started very small. I think they are now like 60 people. So they are growing.
There is also a team called Cinemax, I think, the guys that did Inquisitor.
Yes, they are still alive.
That doesn't sound really promising.
Yeah, but they still work. They are not extremely successful, but they are sustainable somehow.
Okay, so how's climate in Czech? Because like we have a lot of game developers in Russia, and most of them aren't located in Moscow. For some reason, Moscow is off place for Russian developers. Only several companies there to have development in Moscow because Moscow is quite expensive. On the other hand, we have Ukraine, where a lot of developers everywhere, including Kyiv as well. And in Kyiv, people usually talk to each other. In Moscow, they don't for some reason. Well, I mean, game developers, not just usual people. So how is it with Czech? Do you have any Czech specific conferences for game developers? Do you discuss stuff?
Yes, we have. We have a game developer session. There's every year around 400 people. It's very good. Nice little conference. And atmosphere is very friendly. We are a small country, so everybody knows everybody, and it's quite nice. And it's maybe similar like in Russia because more game developers are in Brno than in Prague. But Prague is 4 times bigger, but still more game developers are in Brno. For some reason, I don't know why.
Is it in Czech language or in English, the conference?
It's in Czech. But there are a couple of lectures in English with speakers, but Czech people usually can speak English, so it's not even try to translate.
Would you recommend this event for example, for the Russian studios to visit Czech to see how it's going on in Czech Republic with the game development?
Yeah, I would recommend it because it's not big, but it's nice, and after party is good.
Yes, sure.
So Prague is nice, so why not?
You have a really good beer. You just can use it like a motto.
Yeah, beer is good. Beer is good and cheap. Definitely can recommend it.
Yeah, I think we should go next time to Prague and talk to people right there.
We should run Geimmsnight in Prague instead of Kyiv.
I don't like this idea actually.
Hey, come.
In addition to Kyiv, yes, but not instead of Kyiv. Okay, so you made several games in Amanita Design. All of those games are crazy. I mean, that's not your average usual game. I mean, Summerost, Machinarium, and stuff like that. So this is a tough question, but how do you judge those games? I mean, critics judge games usually on if those games please them. But as a developer, how do you judge? based on sales, based on critical acclaim, based on your own targets?
Well, it's a difficult question. I don't know. First of all, myself personally, I need to like the game to be happy with it. I'm quite happy with our games. Maybe Samara 1 and 2 are a bit too crazy game design wise. Game design there isn't very good. I'm not proud of it. But the graphics and animations are fine, and the whole atmosphere, and maybe it works. Machinarium is better in every way, and now we are working on Samara 3, and we try to be again better with all aspects. And me personally, I'm trying to do the game design more seriously, so it's just better, more fun. I think every game should be fun. It's the most important criteria.
What was your first game? After releasing it, you became famous.
Machinarium, I think, definitely. Commercially.
But I played before Machinarium. I played Samaros. It was my first game by Amanita, so it was amazing. So for me, it's Samaros. But for you, when you just woke up the next day after release and see what's happening, you are famous or not?
I don't know. What does it mean to be famous, really? I don't feel famous now, so it didn't happen yet.
Really? You think so?
Well, I felt famous maybe in Kiev because everybody was taking picture of me, and it was crazy. But maybe it's normal in Ukraine. So.
And they normally kiss you and take you back to the hotel.
Yeah.
Even guys.
Yeah, especially guys. Yeah. Look, I have a question because I know.
Maybe after next game.
Yeah. How important is this for you to be not happy when you produce a new game? And do you believe that the developer should not be happy? That when you go to a restaurant and the restaurant is really good, very often you see the manager who is walking around and he's not happy. He is pissed because this is not working and this is not good enough and this is not good enough. And it seems that especially in France or in America, the successful restaurant will have a manager who will not be happy enough about things. He will keep improving it day from day. And with the game design, you look at your games are happy. And then some people may expect that when they go to your studio, they will see you sitting there, smoking a pipe and saying, "Oh, it's a good day today. Well, let me paint that nice robot here. Boom. Oh, let's go and have a drink."
Yeah.
So, are you happy or not happy?
Well, I'm trying to be happy, but I'm not all the time. Definitely not. Sometimes it's quite the whole development is quite stressful, and it requires a lot of energy and passion and professionality.
Come on, right now, what is so stressful? You're successful, you're making great games, you've done a number of great games, at least 3 different series. I mean, Botanical, Machinarium, Samara. So you know that this is not a one-time wonder. So what is the stress? Where is it coming from?
Well, we are trying to evolve somewhere else, so it's always very difficult to finish a project, and now the project is even bigger. It's our biggest project so far, so it's very difficult to stay focused and to keep whole team together and working hard, because it's also took so much time, and that's maybe the most difficult part, that we are working. The Summer 3 will take us maybe 4 years, and to stay focused and really passionate about the project for such long time, it's really difficult.
Is this the reason why you started some other projects in the background? That you want to still release something every year while you're still working on? No,
it was coincidence. I didn't want to have 3 teams on board, but one team was created because Jara Pachi, our animator who did those communication comic bubbles in Machinarium, once he said that he wanted to make his own project because he's more ambitious, and he's great. So he started working on Botanicula, and I supported him, and then it was created after 3 years, and now we have 2 teams, and the third team was again established because I knew some great guys, and they have fantastic ideas and nice art, but they were unable to make it on their own because they don't have enough resources, and they didn't have any experiences and skills to finish this quite difficult game. So I offered them to support them and to help them. So we created third team, and now we have 3 projects, and it's also quite difficult to maintain all these. It's stressful. We are not smoking in office and drinking. Oh, we are drinking sometimes a little bit, but after work only. Because once we start relax during the day, then it's over. I'm afraid.
Okay. So what you're saying is that you're not happy because you're more ambitious, that every new game that you produce is bigger and better, and that the biggest enemy is the time, actually, that you have to spend so much time working on this and creating this stuff. And you have 3 teams by accident because it just happened that people around you
yes,
were making it.
But I don't want it to be like this forever. I don't like this approach that every new game has to be bigger and more polished and better. I hope we will experiment more next time and maybe make some smaller project, but this time it's evolved into this. I don't know how. It's quite intuitive every time. The whole process. I don't really know how it's possible that it happened this way, but
I think you don't. If you want to do a better game, you don't have to do it bigger, right? So I mean, Samara one is in fact really good game, and it doesn't have to be big to be good, right?
Of course not. Yeah, but this time we just had so many ideas. It was quite natural for this project to be just bigger because in Samara 3 we will have 5 planets and several other little moons, and we'll be traveling across the space. So we needed just more space for our ideas. So every planet is full of weird stuff, and it wouldn't be possible in very small project.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're there creating games, and do you still do what you've done 3 years ago? Or the nature of things you do has changed? And you were a designer and an artist, and now you're a manager, or a businessman, or a marketing person, a business, I don't know, whatever.
I'm trying to be mostly game designer these days, and not manager and businessman. We have other guy doing these kind of things. But I'm not artist anymore, or at least not the lead one. But I also did some animations for Samara 3 and some art as well. But we have a better artist than I am on board, and better animator. Mm-hmm. So I'm mainly game designer and maybe art director.
And you still work without publisher, right?
Yeah, we don't need publishers. I don't believe in publishers.
So, if I remember correctly, you managed to release Machinarium on PlayStation 3 without publisher, because I played it on PlayStation 3.
Yes, it was released by us, published by us.
And can you describe it a little bit more in detail? How did you manage to contact Sony? Because at that time, when Machinarium was released, Sony wasn't really this friendly to indie developers.
It already started to be much friendlier than before, and since then they are very friendly to indie developers. They somehow realize that it's vital for them to work with indies and with small developers and to help them out to release their games on PSN. So, but it was difficult, definitely. To technically make a console game is very difficult, and there was also a lot of business stuff involved, a lot of bureaucracy. I had to sign so many papers. It's incredible, and so it wasn't easy, definitely.
In terms of development, how did Sony help you?
They were very friendly, and they gave us some feedback, but they just, I guess they just, I don't know. They didn't help us very much, to be honest, but they couldn't. We had to port the game and do everything on our own, so they just let us do what we had to do.
But it wasn't like they just throw you like a child in the center of the lake and see what's happened. Will you survive or not?
Oh, well, I don't know. It was to make the console game technically is very, very difficult, but we had great programmer, or we have him still. It's external guy who take care about everything about this console port, and it helped us a lot. They tested it, and it was without any problems. So.
And you also developed a game for Xbox, right? Because I heard you spent like half a year developing this version of Xbox, a version of Machinarium for Xbox, and you never released it.
No, we weren't developing it, but we were just talking with Microsoft about it, because they want it first, and they seemed very passionate. They really want it, and after half a year of negotiations, they said they don't want it anymore because it's not Microsoft exclusive, which
it's
they
so
knew
Microsoft
before.
away.
How long did you develop Machinarium?
You mean the port
PC
or
version,
the game?
Original one.
It took us almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years, because half a year just to talk with Microsoft. It sounds like you could make a game in half a year.
Yeah, we were working at that time, so it wasn't that big problem. But we could talk all this time with Sony, and so if it didn't happen, we would be able to release PlayStation version half a year earlier. But never mind, Microsoft is Microsoft. They are not very indie friendly, what I heard even from other game developers.
Because you released a version for game even for BlackBerry, not just for usual.
For Playbook, their tablet. They don't support anymore. Didn't sell well.
Okay, so if you would give advice to modern indie developers, because I guess you could say that modern indie developers have it easy. They have Unity, they have PlayStation and Xbox that allow self-publishing, which they didn't allow several years ago. They have iOS, they have Android. What would you advise them to focus on? Like, if you have small team, should be your top priority?
Of course, the most important is the game itself, and I would recommend everyone who wants to make a game to focus on art and to be on the game to be something they will be proud of. They shouldn't think about it as of a source of money or income, because if someone wants to make a game nowadays and want to earn money on it, he probably won't, because there are so many game developers nowadays that only about, I don't know, maybe 5% will be able to get their money back. I think game developers should be really passionate about what they are doing. Games are art, not business, to me. And I think it's the only right approach. I just don't like or don't understand the business way of thinking about games.
That's probably why you never released a free-to-play title.
Probably not. No. I think free-to-play titles are they maybe can be good, but it's difficult.
You're good. I mean, financially you're successful, right? I mean, the thing is that a lot of people look at you and they see that you're successful and they see that your games are still selling very well. And they think that this is not because of the hard work that you've put in, not because you're spending 4 years making a game, but just because you get lucky. And they also want to get lucky, and they release their games after 6 or 9 months, and the games are not that good, and they don't really make any money. And then they go, the industry is wrong, the publishers are crap, the market is stupid, So in your experience, do you still view games development as a hard work? Like, do you really work hard? Because that's my question. Like, do you spend, I don't know, 2 hours a day working or 6 hours a day? Do you, behave like a successful creative person who takes a long lunch and a bottle of wine in the afternoon, and between that you maybe think about a new game?
No, we work quite hard, I would say. Oh, maybe not. We are not crunching anymore. We just live our lives with our families. It's not that easy to be at work whole day from the morning till the evening. So we work quite ordinary 8-9 hours a day. Not on weekends, mostly.
Mostly. Yeah, right.
Sometimes. I think we love our work. That's, for us, it's the most important thing, just to work on it. Or at least for me, I'm not doing it because of the finished product or because of money or whatever. I do it because I like to do it. It's that easy. I think it's the same in any art medium, like in literature or films. There always be filmmakers and book writers who do it just because they like it and they want to express themselves somehow, and not because they think that this kind of genre could sell well. I think good books are written by people who really like their work, not who are writing because they want to make money.
Well, that's true. That's
that easy.
Do you ever have this pressure that you're not 20, you're not 30, and your time is limited? Who knows how many years each of us has? And do you feel this, that the time is ticking, that you still have 3, 4, 5 more games that you want to finish before, the curtain fall?
Well, I feel this pressure, but not in relation to games. I don't feel any pressure to create 5 more games. I just want to spend my life reasonably and then fully somehow. So I'm trying to live rich, good life. That's all.
Okay. And your team shares the same passion, or your team is different?
I hope so. I hope they do. And they do. I know it. In fact, that's a very important thing, that the whole team loves the work and is passionate about the project, because otherwise it wouldn't work, or at least not as well. And we are really a bunch of friends who like it, so we are enjoying the work and working together especially. I wouldn't want to work alone anymore. It's great to be in a good, nice team of
But
good
you
friends.
work from an office right now, right?
Yes.
And did that change a lot, the things for you, or it's the same?
Oh no, it's similar. It's more pleasant to be in office. It's faster. Well, we are only 3 people in the office right now, so not the whole team. But it's always nice when we are here together, more people, because it's fun and it's also more efficient. It's more pleasant. We are going to have a lunch together and so on. It's better than to sit the whole day alone at home.
What do you think about other game developers that are going to India as well, that work in India? Because you choose a quite niche for you, right? You're doing really unusual games. That is, I mean, if I would ever think, oh, Jakub is doing so good, I would just go and steal his games. I couldn't, because it's something, you're doing something that is basically copy-proof. You cannot copy it. Just you have to clone Jakub to clone his games. Do you think it's something that everyone should strive for, or we could just go and do just another roguelike game or something like that?
It's difficult. I think it's important to make something unique, something original, and every developer should feel really well about his game, and it should comes from his heart. It sounds like a terrible phrase, but it's true. It should be. I don't believe that it's possible to just calculate what game you should do based on some market research or trends, what's popular. Of course, many developers works like that. I don't understand it. I'm able to work only on things I believe, and which are coming from the depths of my head. I don't know. I don't have any advices. I think there's so many possibilities in games. It's so vast sea of options or alternatives. What could be done with the interactivity thing? I don't understand why everybody is doing the same things over and over again. I think game developers should be more creative and experiment more. But there are some really interesting people who are trying to do something new. It's always good.
What I mean is that doing new stuff is always harder than just implementing on old stuff. So it's usual that people just start to, I see civilization. I would like to make civilization, but with elves and orcs, because I think it will make game better. And here you go, you have warlord. And I mean, sometimes it works out really well, right?
That's true, but it works only if there is really some additional value to it. But mostly people are just copying what's already done, and sometimes they are copying it in a bad way, that they are trying to make it simpler. Or I think the biggest problem is that the most game developers nowadays are wanting just to make money, and that's the bad approach. That's why there are so many crap games especially on App Store. 400 games every day released there. Most of them are just crap because they are meant to be enjoyed by players. They just want players' money.
Yeah, it's just they're not making games. Actually, they're making machines to extract money from players. That's
exactly. Yeah,
You're making business.
exactly.
It's not a business.
Business,
Business
yes.
is when your customer is happy. It's a reliable business. If your customer isn't happy, it's a scam. It's not a business.
Yeah, but let me ask you something else. I've seen a lot of teams that are developing their first game or their first big game, especially the teams that have done outsourcing before. So they know the process, they know the production process. They can deliver software that will work. And what always surprised me was that they would show a beta version and the game will not be that funny. I mean, it's okay, but it's not groundbreaking. And they would say, we hope that this will work out and we make millions. So did you ever have the same approach? Like, do you believe in this, that you can hope that things work out, that the commercial success of the game is the luck, that you came out in the right week, that your title was attractive enough to have Apple feature you, and then boom, 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 and you're selling millions? Or you have to definitely see that the game is the greatest that you could never make?
I don't know. We started to think about some money for the first time when we were working on Machinarium, because it took us so long and we needed some money back. I think you can't rely on luck. Definitely, it's impossible. You have to be confident that your game is really good and it's funny and it will entertain a lot of people, and then work on marketing and building your community, and then you can rely on your community, because that's the most important thing after the release. You will need just luck. It happens only very rarely, I would say, and even featuring from Apple won't help you. I know many people who were featured with their game on App Store and didn't make any substantial money, so it's not enough anymore. You really need community of passionate fans or players. I'm not the right person to give advices on business-related stuff, probably. I think developers should make games only if they really want to express themselves with the game and don't care about money. They should finance it somehow on their own, from their savings, and make it over evenings and weekends. That's all right. The game doesn't need to be polished or without any flaws, but if it has some soul, then people will play it and eventually it will pay off. And maybe they can later improve the game or release another game which will be better and go this way.
So what you're saying is that you shouldn't do first game as your last bet. So you shouldn't go and try to fit all your great ideas into first game. You should iterate, right? So do a first game on your own budget, do a second game on your own budget, and so on.
Yeah, I think it's much better approach, because I met so many game developers who are working on their first game. They have an investor, they have a professional team, and they are working, and they really believe that they will they will make money and they will be successful and will continue making games. But I know for sure that it won't happen to most of them. It's just impossible because I believe there's already bubble because so many investors put their money into games because they believe there's a golden mine on App Store especially, but there's not.
Yeah, I know. I get calls from those guys usually. A lot of guys just, we heard the Angry Birds made $16 gazillion. Let's make Angry Pigs. We heard Supercell is making gazillion dollars. Let's make same game like Supercell does and make half of it, but still a lot of money. Yeah. I don't understand that it doesn't work like that. You don't go and... I never had idea like, Transformers make a lot of money. Let's make our own version of Transformers just cheaper and try to sell it better than Transformers did. And it never worked out in cinema. Why do they think it will work out in games?
There was a great article, an interview with the founders of Supercell, and they say that the success of the Finnish games development happened when people who didn't want to do games for money came into the industry. Or the industry attracted the talent that wanted to make games because they wanted to make games. And these games became commercially successful, but people who came to make business, they didn't really create anything of value since then.
Yeah, people are not stupid, the players are not stupid, they feel it. And they want always something new and something valuable, not only click on things like... You see Zynga, but they thought that they will be successful forever, but they are not because people understand now that...
Zynga was basically making the same game all over again, and if you played it once, you shouldn't play it twice or third time in a row. You just, I played this game, click and close.
Yeah. But what do you... I mean, we also know indie teams that are quite big. 20 people, 30 people. We know that the budgets can go up to, $500,000, $1 million. There was an indie team that recently spoke to me and they said, we'd like to make a remake of one of the games that's up there and we need $1 million to do it. And I was like, you're a fucking indie team. How do you do an indie game with $1 million budget? We know we gotta have salaries and we have children, we have families, and we'd like to have a nice office. So really not pushing themselves, but trying to create an office job, but still,
If you're talking about those guys, they actually got the $1 million actually.
About what?
From one of investor. If you're talking about guys from Ukraine that wanted to do a third part of certain
No. Those guys, they're really, committed. No, I'm talking about an indie team that... But what really surprised me was that they would like to be safe. They would like to have somebody fund the development. And I don't really believe that you can make something great if you're sitting in a, cozy office and you're not pushing your... I don't know.
Maybe they will find the investor because there are enough silly investors who believe that it will pay off, but it won't. But the problem is that this team will work for 2 years. And then what? Then they finished and no other investor will come and they won't sustain, they will end and they will go work some other industry or whatever. It's a pity because they could do something else already. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but do you have any young people in your team? Do you believe in making your first successful game when you're 21 or 23, 25? Or it's like with film business, you cannot be a good story writer when you're 25. You have to go out, explore, experience life, and then when you're 30, 35, you can make a great game. Or maybe you can make it still when you're 20.
Well, I believe that the true innovation, something revolutionary, will come eventually only from some young people, not from the old bastards. Depends on what you are looking for. We have some young guys in the third new team, but there's also one guy who is the oldest from us all, so it doesn't really matter for us. I think there are new genres which we never seen before, which are maybe being developed right now from some young people who are not spoiled by 8-bit games. Will not do any more pixel art and stuff.
So a question for you then, because it seems like the right time to ask a question. Have you played any Russian or Ukrainian games, and do you have any that you can particularly remember? And have you played a game called Pathologic or Knock Knock or some other games from I Speak Lodge? That's a question from Andrei Rabachinsky.
I played for a while Stalker, which is Ukrainian, right?
Yeah, yes,
Ukrainian, yeah. It's very nice. Like the graphics and atmosphere. But it's too scary for me. And I'm not into shooters, and I need something more relaxed. But it's definitely a great game. And Metro.
The same games actually, yeah.
Both of them come from Kiev, yeah.
I'm not sure if I played any indie or smaller project. Maybe yes, but I don't know it.
You should definitely play Pathologic. That's by Dybowski, and people say you even look alike. You and Nikolai Dybowski.
Yeah, and I played, what was the name? The French name? Contre-jour?
Yeah, that's Ukrainian one. Yeah, it's also really nice. So you only played Ukrainian games, not Russian.
This is like all of the latest great games. They all come from Ukraine. Come on, let's be honest here.
You make Sergey
this
happy,
is the podcast about Ukrainian games industry. We promote Ukrainian games developers.
Told you there is no Russian games industry. It's only Ukrainians.
And Belarus
in Russia.
World of Tanks.
Yeah, Belarus, right. Yeah.
Okay, for money you go to Belarus. For heart and soul you go to Kiev.
Yeah. And if you want to discuss stuff on Facebook, you go to Russia. Yeah.
Crap! I feel outnumbered. I mean, what the fuck are they? Okay, the team that did King's Bounty and Space Rangers disintegrated. The team that did Isle to Sturmovik fell apart. Crap! I don't know. I don't know. It seems like everything is moving west to Ukraine.
There's another question from Yuri Voloshin. He asks, how do you survive when you're making your first game? I mean, publishers don't want to invest in risky game from beginner developers, and developing your own game on holidays and evenings after your main job is too slow and can kill your team morality. We were just discussing it, so...
I think if you really believe in your game and you want to make it, doesn't matter if it make any money or not in the future, then you will make it over the evenings and weekends. That's the way, and I think it's the only logical and good way, because why anybody should pay you beforehand for something what's completely uncertain?
Yeah. If you want to do games, probably you want to do games because you want to people play those games. Before that, you had to have a publisher because you couldn't just talk to every single store owner on your own. But right now you have Steam, you have internet, you can do games that people can enjoy without resorting to publisher funds, right?
The next question from Yuri. Don't you want to make any big game like Beyond Good and Evil or Skyrim with your special world design?
That would be nice. Skyrim with Samara graphics. That would be great.
So you would love to?
No, probably not, because I don't believe there is a publisher who would put money into such project and let us work freely, independently. And I'm not really interested working on some commercial project, because every AAA title has to be commercial. And when it's commercial, then it means that the publisher will be pushing you to commercial way of thinking, that the characters should be more cute or whatever. You need to make compromises, and I'm not really interested in such way of work.
Actually, big publishers sometimes do create unusual games, but they don't usually allow this to do. They don't usually outsource those games to independent developers. Like if you take, for example, Ubisoft, they have an inside several teams that develop prototypes, unusual prototypes that sometimes make it into a final game. And Blizzard does the same. As I heard that even Electronic Arts does this, but they probably kill everything they develop.
Yeah.
But they don't go to anybody outside, right? For this.
But there was a great story that I heard from a big publisher that they approached 7 good game designers within that big company, and they asked each of them to come up with a prototype for a new game. And eventually, after 3 months in the work, they met each other at some party, and they discovered that there were 7 people doing the same game.
Yeah, Call of Duty.
No. It's a different company. And then they went to the CEO, and they said, "What the fuck, man? We're spending 3 months of our life on making." And I thought, we should ask all of you, and then just pick the best concept and fund it. And they were extremely pissed because they were like, we were spending our time and then, our life, and then nothing is happening out of this. 6 people will do it in Wayne, and 1 guy will get it into production.
Yeah.
It's not a good way.
I think it's quite typical. It's always like that with big publishers, that something is preparing for years and nothing comes out of it, or it's somehow compromised heavily. And I don't want to fight anymore. I have quite nice company, quite great team, and I'm very happy with it. So I'm not going to work on any big title.
You're not going to give away any of your freedom because you get a freedom. You can do whatever you want, basically.
Yeah, the freedom is one of the most important things for me.
Freedom. You can take away my life, but you can never take away my freedom.
The next questions from Yuri. What are games for you? Both games you develop and you play. Is it expression, the word you want to say to the world, or it's about creating your own worlds, or without inventing mechanics, gameplay, or about entertaining or making money, or escapism from the real life, or whatever?
A lot of options.
Choose one. Okay.
Choose wisely.
Okay, then I choose the one about creating worlds. I love to create little functional worlds to which you can enter and soak in and enjoy being there. That's what I like on games the most. But there are also other aspects like the story and game design, puzzles. All of this I like to create, and also I like the process of developing the game.
Do you like kids?
So
No, but the process.
Complex. Also the game, finished game. But usually when we finish something after years, we already hate the game because we had to test it so many times. I played Machinarium, for example, like 1,000 times on every device possible, and I'm already allergic to some certain sound effects, especially. And I hate the little rusty fucking guy, and it's quite difficult to work on something for many years and still like it, like in the beginning.
The next question from Yuri. Which games can you call art? Serious high art as classic literature or festival-winning films? And name games that you can't call art, but like very much.
Interesting. Well, I'm not sure what the art really is. I don't know.
A piece of art, maybe, just like masterpiece.
Yeah. But to me, let's say the game Journey, it's really piece of art, or Limbo, or many others. I love these, and I felt some strong emotions even while playing Journey. So it's definitely art. And games which I like and don't consider art, maybe some. For example, some RPGs. I played Torchlight, for example. I don't think it's really art, but I had a lot of fun playing.
You like lick as hell.
Well, I mean, if what you discussed previously, like Limbo or Journey, both games have really strong visual aesthetics, but
it's not only about visual aesthetics, especially in Journey. I think the strongest part in Journey is the strange use of multiplayer. that was the strongest for me.
But I mean, Torchlight wasn't new, so you couldn't call it revolutionary or something. But when I first played roguelike real time, which was Diablo actually, because roguelikes before were all turn based, I felt like it. I felt a lot of new emotions actually. So I think it still counts as art. Maybe Torchlight is not, but original Diablo was, sure.
Yeah, maybe I'm not the right person to judge this. Also, for it works differently for each person. It's the art thing isn't anything which is defined hardly. It's not in stone. So, sorry for my terrible English today.
It's okay. Also don't speak English very well. But I mean, I enjoyed Diablo, original Diablo, and I thought it was art because it was something I never played before. But let's take, for example, my son. He played Torchlight before Diablo. And I think he was really impressed by Torchlight because he never played any game of this genre before. So for him, it was like, he was probably strong. He felt strong emotions because of that. I think so. So what I mean is that if your first movie wasn't Citizen Kane but was Transformers, I think it affects you, right? So you don't have.
Yeah. You
cannot just art in a vacuum. You should still think about art as personal experience. So for some person it's their first movie or their second movie, and for somebody it's like, I've seen it all before, give me something new.
I also would like to add some question. Do you play often games, or how many hours a week you play games from other studios, not only what games you develop?
Well, I'm following especially the indie scene. I'm watching what's being released, and I'm watching mostly game trailers and game videos. But honestly speaking, I don't have much time to play games these days. I try. I would love to play more, but I have a little kid, and when I have some free time, I want to be somewhere else outside with people and stuff, not in front of another screen.
And then your wife is saying,
"So yeah, I play some games on." Yeah, I play on iPad.
Okay.
Short games sometimes before I go to sleep.
For example, what's the last game you played and you like on iPad? Can you recommend some?
Yeah, I played Device 6 by Simogo, the guys who created Yearwolf or Beat Snip Bandit or Bumpy Road. It's fantastic. It's great, and it's art, and it's something new, definitely.
Yeah, everybody seems to like it, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it's great.
Because I played it, and it's like it's just a story that you can just rotate your device to experience a little bit different.
No, there are quite hard puzzles, and it's great new way. It's not for everybody, definitely, but it's great way how to tell the story differently. It's something new, and it's really a new medium. Many years ago, I told to somebody that or not many, maybe 2 years ago, I told someone that with tablets we will see many new genres between games and movies, and between games and books, because there's much wider space nowadays for any kind of experience. And I'm very interested in these new kinds of experiences, like, for example, games which aren't games. Actually, for example, Proteus or Dear Esther, these two games are just about walking around some remote island, and that's all. There's no goal, no challenge, no puzzles, no quest, nothing. And still, it's a game, and it's a great game.
I think I'm gonna buy it. I'm just looking at the webpage of the game, and I think I'm gonna.
You mean Device 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, you will like it. You just it's not actually a game from my point of view. It's just, like you said with Proteus, it's interactive experience.
Yes, but it is game. I was in Proteus. I was chasing bees on a meadow in the summer, and I had so much fun with it. And so, what it is if not game? What's the definition of game? And I think it's silly to define it somehow. in this category. It's not a movie, it's not a book, it's a game, and it's a great game. And it just illustrates how many possibilities there are in this medium. That anything is possible.
I have just a brief question to Sergey. Should I buy The Wolf Among Us on iPad?
I don't know if it works well on iPad because you have new iPad. Yeah, it should work fine on your device. Yeah, buy it on iPad. Yeah,
okay,
it's actually really good. It's interactive comic book. It's not a game.
Comic book. Yeah. Okay, that's another new genre maybe.
Yeah, I like the Telltale games. They are not games in sense of you're challenged or you have to do something right or just interactive experiences like
as me I like to be the part of the story, but the story should be really good.
If you want to be the part of the story, you should go to Maidan right now.
Oh, come on, Sergey.
It's a very interactive
That's
experience.
a good game.
a part of story or part of history.
It's very Ukrainian, yeah. One of the last questions is how easy it is to develop games in Czech Republic. Does the government support you? Is European Union supporting you? I know that in some countries in European Union you can get some grant or,
like Norway.
Or like
Sweden.
Belgium or like Germany. And
there is only one grant available in Czech Republic, which is from European Union, and it used to be completely useless, but now they changed the rules, so it's possible to get it for making game. But it's not for beginners because you need to be a company who is established at least a year ago, and you had to have at least one commercially released title. Yeah, it's a grant for already successful probably studios, which is silly, but it's like that.
It's kind of stupid because you already established company, you already have released projects, you possibly have money.
Let's be honest, most grants everywhere are stupid. Maybe in Nordic countries they have some clever grants, but not here in European Union. We have so many grants which are so stupid, and it's basically wasting
Is it easier
money.
to make business right now? To run a business, a small business, a creative business like a game studio in Czech Republic right now than 10 years ago?
No, it's probably the same. It's not easy at all. You have a lot of bureaucratic stuff, and
You just killed Sergey because he was all this.
Come on! I saw Jakub a year ago, less than a year ago or so. We compared notes. On corruption. I was reading about the renovation of some castle in Czech Republic where the budget was 10 million and 5 million was missing, or I don't know, whatever million was missing out of 5 million. So I could see the familiar spots. It's not, but my question...
It's quite usual
But
here.
do people move? Like, for example, from France, they move to Canada because Canada is easier, taxes are lower, it's more transparent, so probably pretty much the whole French games industry just packed up and moved to Canada. Is the same happening in Czech Republic?
It's
do people
not true.
move? Some remained.
Well, it's not. I don't think it's happening with game developers, but in general, with companies, it's happening. Companies are moving to some exotic islands.
Which islands do you recommend?
Of course.
Tortola. I recommend Tortola.
Yeah, it's definitely happening. Yeah, because the bureaucracy and taxes aren't very high, but the worst is the state is and the system is still very annoying, especially when you are earning money. Really, the more you make, the more you are suspicious, and the more it's difficult to work. Just focus on work. You have to hire basically 2 people to sort this out for us, all the papers and accounts.
That's not very...
So it sounds really similar to Russia, actually.
I
in
guess
Russia
so.
you don't do this. Come on, in Russia you migrate into the gray area, which is kind of legal, kind of illegal, and you don't really.
I don't have any experiences doing business in Russia, so I'm mostly.
I think five years ago it was like, okay, we have to hire extra accountants, but you can still do things by the book. And then as the legal system, the court system collapsed, you understood that no matter what you do, even if you follow the law, somebody comes in and they say, oh, you're guilty. And you're like, can you prove it? No, we don't need to. Come on, you're guilty. Boom. And then you have to pay some fine or you have to pay a bribe to bring back your property. So unfortunately, I mean, I was wondering if the same thing is happening. Because in Poland, it's getting apparently easier. CD Projekt is very happy. They said that a lot of studios just kind of completely legalized, went out of the black, and they're happy because nobody's really prosecuting them or nobody's pressuring them.
I don't think the situation is that bad like in Russia, you are saying, but it's not very pleasant. We are completely legal, but
it just takes a lot of effort to keep up with the whole.
Yeah, it takes a lot of effort, and then we are spending a lot of money on it, not only on taxes but also on maintaining it to stay legal, which is very silly from the system. But I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean,
it's a common problem.
That's why still Canada and America are very competitive, and maybe Scandinavia is different because they have taxes are very high, but it's a combination. Okay, so the last question for today.
Not the last, but we have probably two questions. One from Sergei Borlev. Jakub, is it hard for you to stay in the schedule of development, or you feel like release the game when it's done?
It's difficult.
So you always have the schedule, right?
We have some schedule, but it's always
flexible.
We are always pushing.
It's always pushing. The main word is always.
It's just because not we are slow or anything, but because we are making the game more and more complex during the development. We add more details and more stuff into it in every level of development. We are putting more and more stuff, and then it takes us longer and longer. And it was the same case with Machinarium. I thought that this game will take us a year to finish. Then it was 3 years. But the game was much better than I imagined when we started developing.
Okay. And the last question from Dmitry Sanikov. What do you think about the current state of IGF? Did it lose its first initial goal when it was the first appearance on the indie scene?
Yeah, I think its purpose and goal is changing every year, and it has to. So it's difficult to judge. First, they were just promoting the indie games among other big games. Nowadays, when everybody knows about indie games and everybody's playing at least some indie games, their goal is to promote the better games or to somehow promote the creativity or whatever. I don't know. I still like IGF, and I still think that it's very good competition and very good.
So you still recommend for the newborn teams to go to
definitely.
IGF?
Yeah, definitely. Just to enter the IGF is important in my eyes. It's not that expensive, and you are there in the list of the games which are being developed that year. It's important.
But in one podcast, one of our guests, or maybe Sergey, told that there are hundreds of games submitted to IGF every year. Then several years ago, there was just a few, tens of games, but now it's hundreds. So it's a huge competition in the space. What do you recommend to the small team to talk about themselves, how to present their own project, to be maybe to have a little bit less failure in this competition?
It's always hard to tell. It's about the game, so they can't do anything more than just the great game. That's the only thing important. I don't think there's any way how to succeed other than be creative and make good game, or at least a demo version of good game.
But the game speaks itself.
But yeah, of course, there are in a jury there is only game developers, so they are not stupid. They will recognize if it's something interesting. I would recommend to be original. That's it. I saw this year's entries, and there's like 8 games about which are Minecraft-like, which call themselves Cuboid and Cubo something, and they are about squares and cubes, which is, I don't know, why to waste talent on another cube game. Maybe the game design is maybe good, but I don't think if it looks like for the first sight it looks like Minecraft, I'm not interested, because
even huge companies like Tryon created their own Minecraft-like games, so it's everybody's talking about Minecraft. I just started to watch the last season of South Park, and the second series was about the Minecraft, so it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's great. But I don't think it's a good idea to make another Minecraft-like game. Maybe it will make money, I don't know, but it's not the right way how to think about it.
I think if something is already used everywhere when it appears on mainstream TV. So if your game is already on South Park, you shouldn't just clone it, because everybody knows about it already. Okay, I think it's all for today, right? It was really pleasant to have you here, and thanks for joining us, and thanks for games, actually, because I never mentioned that my kids love Machinarium. They played it on iPad, they played it on PlayStation, so thank you for that.
Thanks for the invite. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's
a pleasure. You're a good example. You're a hero of the games industry. And your values, your hard-working approach is really what makes games successful.
Thanks for the nice words. I will tell it to my colleagues.
And thank you very much.
Katya Nemova is looking at me and she's passing you her best.
Hi Katya, hi.
She says she hopes you don't go to court soon, but if you ever go, then you know where to go.
Yeah, I hope to.
Okay, all the best. Thank you.